We come to the next part of the essay. We were dealing with the essay titled On Familiar Style by William Hazlitt. In the first part, he was trying to give out what does he mean by familiar style or plain style. He starts by saying that it is not easy to write in a familiar style. It requires some kind of precision and purity of expression, and all those pompous words, all those artificial language, high-flying sounds must be completely avoided. And it is the language of common conversation of a person which which completely avoids all those pedantry and which is delivered with ease, force, and perspicuity or clarity. And when one uses the plain style, he says that they should go through, they should take this middle course, that they shouldn't be someone like a preacher who gives out a speech in a pulpit, or he shouldn't stoop to the level of an uneducated or a vulgar man with all those clownish pronunciation. And he says that it is easy to write in a pompous style, in a vulgar style, but it is very difficult to choose the exact word that fit to the context. And then he states the reason why he doesn't like the style of Dr. Johnson, Samuel Johnson, because Dr. Johnson uses too many polysyllabic words and Latinized phrases. He ridicules, he points out the mistakes of Samuel Johnson with a tinge of sarcasm. Now we move to the next part. So he is going on explaining what does he mean by familiar style. So he continues like this. A truly natural or familiar style can never be quaint or vulgar. Quaint is strange. A truly natural or familiar style, natural style, plain style can never be something strange, or it will never look vulgar. For this reason, it is of the universal force and applicability, and that quaintness and vulgarity arise out of the immediate connection of certain words with coarse and disagreeable or with confined ideas. So, this quaintness and this vulgarity arise out of the connection with something which is rough, which is raw, which is disagreeable, and it can be produced by a person who has this confined ideas, who had this rigid ideas. So, coyness and vulgarity arise out of all those writers who uses coarse, disagreeable, and confined ideas. And he says that he will give out an example. He says the phrase to cut with a knife or to cut a piece of wood, that phrase is completely free from vulgarity because it is something which is perfectly common. We always use that to cut with a knife or to cut a piece of wood. But to cut an acquaintance, the phrase like to cut an acquaintance is not quite unexceptionable because it is not perfectly common or intelligible and has hardly yet escaped out of the limits of slang phraseology. So he says that these are the common ones, but a phrase like to cut an acquaintance is not so common, and it has gone out of fashion. It is something like an archaic term or an old term or obsolete term. So it is not perfectly common or intelligible, and when you write in a plain style or a familiar style, you should avoid such kind of phrases which has already become something like archaic phrases, obsolete phrases. And then he says like this: I should hardly therefore use the word in this sense without putting it in italics as a license of expression. So if at all, if you want to use that phrase to cut with an acquaintance, you should use italics to represent that it is something which has gone out of fashion, or it is something like an archaic term. It is not currently in use, to indicate that it is not currently in use. To be received cum grano salis, it means cum grano salis, it means to take with a pinch of salt. It means to not to believe something immediately, completely. All provincial or by phrases come under the same mark of reprobation, all such as the writer transfers to the page from his fireside or a particular coterie, or that he invents for his own sole use and convenience. So all those regional phrases, provincial, and all those by phrases, which is not commonly in use, comes under this category. It can be used by writers if it is meant only for his own reading. If it is he is writing near his fireside for his own pleasure, his own entertainment, he can use that, but not for the public. He says, I conceive, and then he compares words to money. I conceive that words are like money. How is that? I conceive that words are like money, not the verse for being common, but that it is underline that it is the stamp of custom alone that gives them circulation or value. I am fastidious in this aspect, would almost as soon coin the currency of the realm as counterfeit the king's English. I never invented or gave a new and unauthorized meaning to any words but one single one, the term impersonal applied to feelings, and that was in an abstruse metaphysical discussion to express a very difficult distinction. I have been loudly accused of reveling in vulgarism and broken English. I cannot speak to that point, but so far I plead guilty to the determined use of acknowledged idioms and common elliptical expressions. I am not sure that the critics in this question know the one from the other, that is, can distinguish any medium from between formal pedantry and the most barbarous solecism. As an author, I endeavor to employ plain words and popular modes of construction. Where I, a chapman and a dealer, I should use common weights and measures. So he says that he compares words to money because it is so common. Words are something common like money. He is not taking that point into consideration. He says that words like money, it is the stamp of custom. We have in England they have this pound, euro. European countries they have this euro. So there is a certain kind of money circulating in a certain country, and it is the value of that money is determined by the fact that where it is circulated. So Indian money gets value only in India, while euro or dollars is in circulation in Western countries. So it is the stamp of custom. It is the stamp of custom that gives them circulation or value, and you are not supposed to counterfeit. Just like you have no right to counterfeit money, just like that, you don't have the right to counterfeit King's English. So King's English is the standard English followed in the nation. So you are not supposed, as a writer, you are not supposed to counterfeit the King's English. And he says that William Hazlitt himself has never done that, and he says that there was a certain incident where he was forced to do that he used this particular word impersonal when he was talking about something related to feelings in a metaphysical, in a philosophical discussion. He had to talk about feelings, and he used this word impersonal. So he says that I too have done that, but he never tried to invent or give a new and unauthorized meaning to any words, just like other writers do. And he says that he too is criticized accused of using all those vulgarisms and broken English, but here he turns against all those critics who accuse him of using all those vulgarisms or all those broken English, and he criticizes these people, these writers, telling that these people are ignorant. They cannot understand what I am saying. I am not sure that the critics in question know the one from the other. So he accuses them being ignorant, of not understanding what he was trying to convey. And he says that I leave it there, and he says, I endeavor to employ plain words and popular modes of construction. So I always use plain words and popular modes of endeavor, just like a chapman or a dealer. Chapman is a merchantman using all those common weights and measures during their business. So these merchants and dealers use common weights and measures. Just like that, I use all those plain words and popular ones, clear, which is precise, which has this purity. So he says that though he had done it at a certain point, he had not made that grave mistake of inventing or giving out an unauthorized meaning to words. Just like money, he has never counterfeited new words. So this is important, the comparison between words and money. And he continues, the proper force of words lies not in the words themselves, but in their application. We know that the proper force of words doesn't lie in the weight of that word, but where it is applied, whether it fits to that context. A word may be a fine sounding word of an unusual length and very imposing from its learning and novelty, yet in the connection in which it is introduced may be quite pointless and irrelevant. So that happens to us too. We use all those fine sounding words, but it will be completely inappropriate to the context we are using. So he says that the proper force of words depends on its application, not on its sound. A high sounding word, a high flying word will completely look like nonsense when it is placed out of context. So he continues, it is not pomp or pretension, but the adaptation of the expression to the idea that clinches a writer's meaning. So the merit of a word lies not in itself, but in its appropriate usage. It is not this show off or pretension that gives beauty to that sentence. It is the right use of the word which gives right expression to the idea you want to convey. That only can give out the right meaning the writer has to convey. And he says, as it is not the size of glossiness of the materials, but their being fitted each to its place that gives strength to the arch, or as the pegs and nails are as necessary to the support of the building as a large timber, and more so than mere showy unsubstantial ornaments. So he then he compares it to a building. Just like all those pegs and nails which are important in supporting the system, the right words are the ones which keep the meaning intact, which gives out a clear expression to the idea. So he compares it to all those pegs and nails in a building. It is not all those glossiness and all those shiny things you use as ornaments which gives the building strength. It is all those pegs and nails which gives it the most needed support. I hate anything that he says, I hate anything that occupies more space than it is worth. I hate to see a lot of bandboxes go along the street. I hate to see a parcel of big words without anything in them. So he compares all those high sounding words without any meaning to all those empty boxes which goes in a truck, which is empty. It looks so big, but it is empty inside. He compares it to all those artificial or sounding words. A person who does not deliberately dispose of all his thoughts like a compressed draperies and flimsy disguises may strike out 20 varieties of familiar everyday language, each coming somewhat nearer to the feeling he wants to convey. At last, not hit upon that particular only one which may be said to be identical with the exact expression in his mind. This would seem to show that Mr. Cobbett is hardly right in saying that the first word that occurs is always the best. It may be a very good one, and yet a better may present itself on the reflection or from time to time. It should be suggested naturally, however, spontaneously from a fresh and lively conception of the subject. We seldom succeed by trying at improvement or merely substituting one word for other. So he says that when you start writing, you have all those thoughts about the idea or about the central idea, and you may be forced to use something like all those compressed draperies and flimsy disguises compressed draperies and flimsy disguises are all those awkward looking embellishments you use. As you see in a house, you see all those curtains which have all those ornamental looking curtains which look so awkward. Just like that, a person will also have so many ornamental words in his mind, but when he start writing, he has to strike out all those vulgar expressions too, and finally he should reach at the exact words, just like giving out all those ornaments and making it simple. And he disagrees with the idea given by Mr. Cobbett. Mr. Cobbett is William Cobbett. He is a writer, English civil rights activist, and a member of parliament. And he is also a person who argued for plain style. But he had a different concept. He tried to say that, Mr. Cobbett tried to say that the first word which comes to you is always the best. While William Hazlitt has a different idea, though he too advocated plain style, he said that it may be a very good one, but you should reflect more, you should think more, and then it will come to you naturally and it may come to you spontaneously. That exact word which fits to the context will come to you spontaneously. You shouldn't stop with the first word that occurs in your mind. You will have 20 varieties of words. From that, you have to pick one that perfectly fits to the context. So he takes the idea of Mr. Cobbett and he gives out his own opinion. So he says that we'll seldom succeed by trying at improvement or merely substituting one word for another that we are not satisfied with, as we cannot recollect the name of a person or a place by merely plaguing ourselves about it. We wander further from the point by persisting in a wrong sin, but it starts up accidentally in the memory when we least expect it, by touching some link in the chain of previous association. So we need not try to improve or substitute one word with other. So he gives out an example which is a kind of a common occurrence in our lives too. We meet a person and suddenly we will not be able to recollect the name of that person. We know that person. We sometimes we meet a person in a mall and we know him, but suddenly his name, his or her name suddenly goes out of our mind, and we will be struggling to find the name to fix the name to that person. And he says, just like that, we also, a writer too, will be struggling to find this right word, and he says that the right approach is to leave it there. Leave it there, not to plague yourself, not to trouble yourself, trouble your mind, giving more force, more exertion. He says that it will come naturally, just like you will then get this name of this person suddenly, all of a sudden, when you least expect it. It will be something which comes accidentally. You suddenly you get the name of that person. Just like that, the right word will come to you. Just like by touching some link in the chain of previous association, just like remembering that name. You associate some incident with this person, and suddenly the name of that person comes to your mind. Just like that, the right word will come naturally to you, spontaneously, when you reflect more on it without giving more force into your mind. And then he says, there are those who hoard up and make a cautious display of nothing but rich and rare phraseology, ancient medals, obscure coins, and Spanish pieces of eight. There are people who have this hobby of collecting ancient medals, obscure coins. There are people who like to collect all those old coins, all those old stamps. You know, all those people. They are very curious to inspect, but I myself would neither offer nor take them in course of exchange. A sprinkling of archaism is not amiss, but a tissue of obsolete expression is more fit to keep than wear. I do not say I would not use any phrase that had been brought into fashion before the middle or the end of the century, but I should be shy of using that had not been employed by any author during the whole of the time. Words like clothes get old-fashioned or mean and ridiculous when they have been for some time laid aside. So he says that he compares all those old words, archaic words, to all those old coins, all old stamps, which is not really in use now. So he says that a sprinkling of archaism is not a bad idea. A sprinkling of all those old terms can be used, but it should be something like a sprinkling. A small amount of archaisms can be used, but a tissue of obsolete expressions, using whole lot of difficult expressions or old expressions is more fit for keep than wear. It is something like wearing all those Spanish medals, all those medals you have in your house around your neck. How awkward it looks. Just like that, you need not display all the archaic expressions you know in your piece of writing. A sprinkling is okay, but you need not display all your pedantry. It doesn't look nice to display all your pedantry in a single piece of writing. He says, and then he compares, he says that the words are like clothes. Words are like clothes. When it is old fashioned, you should set them aside and you should wear things which suit the time. All these there are clothes which suits the time. There are some fashion will become out of fashion at some point of time, so he's according to him we should set aside all those things and come up with the fashion which is the trend of the day. So here I stop my second part of the essay. Hope it is clear. Thank you.